Hello everyone, this is Kishore Chowdary again back with some new video tutorials. So it's been a while where I stopped posting these video tutorials, maybe because of the work pressure. So thought of coming back with the tutorials again. So let me introduce again myself. It's Kishore Chowdary, that's my name, and I'm a C Sharp Corner MVP. And along with that, I'm working as a developer evangelist in a company called CodeSizzler. So, speaking about my work experience, like I'll be working a lot with technical consultancy where I'll be going to a lot of corporates to provide technical training for people who work in there. So, coming to the topic of the day, today I'm going to discuss about the web app service in Microsoft Azure. So, the session is going to be a hands-on one. So, the topics that are going to be discussed in that web app may be the creation of the web app service, and along with that the understanding of the web app service plans and also hosting a website. So these three things are going to be discussed, that too in a hands-on way. So for proceeding further, make sure that you have an Azure account with a valid subscription so that you can work with the hands-on. And if suppose you don't have one, just try creating either a free trial account or try going with something called Visual Studio Dev Essential. So you can find it in Azure Portal, or even if you Google it, you will be able to find it. Now, without wasting any time, let me jump into the hands-on because that is what I love most. So that is the reason why I'm not presenting anything more than this. So pretty simple. There are going to be three different things. Maybe first one will be creation of your web app service, and while creating the service itself, we'll be going through the app service plan always. I mean alone, and at last we will try to host a website into the web app which we have created. Now jumping back into this virtual machine, so I'm working inside a virtual machine so that it will be pretty easy for me because this is a VM which I have configured for my personal use. Now let me start this. So this is what we generally do. So the first thing is going to be like portal.azure.com. So this is the URL through which you can jump into your Azure portal. So I'm saying this for the people who might see this video for the first time or who might be very newbie for Azure things. So it's portal.azure.com, and if you don't have an account, you will be able to sign in, but still you will not be having any subscription. So make sure that you create one account if you don't have one. So that is a free trial or any Visual Studio Developer Essential or something. So Google it as portal.azure.com, and this will take you into the portal, and as usual you need to sign in with your account. So let me sign in with mine, and I told, so we are going to work with the web app service, which means like right from scratch. That is the point where we have to create our app service and how to work with the app service plan. All those things will be discussed. Now this is your Azure portal, and this is what we call as a dashboard. So the resources that you create, all those things will be coming in here, and there is something called notification bar in here. In that you can see you will be able to find different notifications for your different app services. This is what your Azure portal is. Now let us try creating our app service in here. So in general, when you work with an Azure, the first thing is like when you want to create a resource, you have to click on this new option. So now click on this new and go to your web plus mobile, and in there you can see something called web app. So this is what we have to create now. So click on this, go to new, choose web plus mobile and a web app, and you can see something called app name. So this is what the DN is going to be. So you can see that is there is something called Azure Websites.net, which means like whatever the name you give in here for your application, maybe your web app, that will actually become a DNS for you. So from this you can understand the name which you are going to give now, it must be an unique one. So let us say like let me give it as Azure Web App. I think this, see, you can see this. So this one is a familiar one, and someone who have already used it. So I'm not supposed to use it now. So this is what I was coming to say. This is going to act as a DNS. So you must give an unique name which is not going to be used anywhere, so that it will act as a DNS for your web app, maybe in which you host your website. Let me name it as CodeSizzler web app. So this will be available. Yeah, this is. So now I will be getting a DNS like CodeSizzlerWebApp.AzureWebsites.net. So that will be the DNS, and again this is going to be the name of my web app as well. Now coming to the next one, that is the subscription. This is nothing but the plan which you make use of. So you can take your mobile service as an example. Today people use a lot of offers, maybe in the form of tariffs or network plans. So just think of the scenario where you recharge for your mobile for internet package or maybe the calls. So you'll be recharging somewhere around maybe 399 or 499 or 599 based on your usage, and you will be getting some data, maybe 1 GB per day or 2 GB per day for a specific amount of time. So the same thing in here, but the difference is going to be like the the credits. So you can see in my notification, you can see that. So I have something like 5,831 Indian rupees, and this is what my credit is. And what happens is like I need to credit the amount into my subscription, so that whatever the resource I consume, that amount will get reduced based on the consumed resource. So this is how this plan works, and this doesn't have any expiry date. If suppose you are going with something called pay as you go, which is a subscription where you will be paying for the resources which you make use of, in that case you will be charged on the resources which you use, and there you will not be having any expiry. So that's what your subscription is all about. So well, if you are going with something called Azure free trial, then you will be having a free trial subscription, maybe with a different name, like not like this one. Or if you are going with Dev Essential, that is Visual Studio Developer Essential, then you will be having something like this. So I'm trying to choose this one so that you can work with the same. So I'm choosing Visual Studio Developer Essentials. And next to this you have something called resource group. So I can relate this with the real-time example, like there is let us consider your PC. You might have movies in your PC, you might have songs in your PC, even you might have games or softwares or even some project related data. In that scenario, you will be creating different folders and segregating all those resources in separate folders so that you can easily access them. You can easily allocate them, and you can easily segregate so that it will be easy for you to manage. So same way, Azure provides you with something called resource groups. So these resource groups are nothing but a kind of folders in which you will be able to create your own resources and segregate them so that it will be easy for you to access. So that's what your resource group is. Now in general, if suppose you are working for the new time, you'll be getting like create a new resource group, because if you go to this use existing option, under that you will be shown with already created resource groups. Since I don't have any resource group with this specific subscription, I'm not getting anyone. So if I just click on this create new, I have to give a name, and by default it will be taking the name of your web app, but you can rename it. So I'm naming as new RG, and it works. So this is going to be the name of the folder or the resource group which I'm going to create. And next to this, there is something called OS. So speaking about Microsoft Azure, today Microsoft is providing support for all the operating systems. Like, it is not fixed only with the Windows, but it is providing a support even for the open source. So you can create your web apps even with the Windows or even with the Linux. I'm working with Windows right now, so I'm choosing Windows. And this is the basic setup which you have to do it. And next to this, you have something like App Service Plan. So click on this, and this is going to be the plan which will be deciding like in which location your web app is going to get created, at what cost it is going to be, and what are the features that web app service is going to have. So that is what going to be fixed by this app service plan. Now there is an option called create new, and you can see by default a plan will get created for you if suppose you don't configure it by yourself, right? So I don't have to click on this and do create all these things. I can just click on OK and it will automatically get created. But the thing is, I want to explain you the app service plan. So let us go to this create new, and you can see your app service plan, it will actually require a name. So let me name it my service plan. Just I'm giving some name, it's up to you. And there is something called location. This is what which is going to decide at which location your web app service has to be created. So right, cloud works with something called data centers. So there will be different set of data centers in which the resources which you configure will be hosted. Same way, in the place of this location, you can choose any resource, I mean any data center which you want. So let us assume like actually I am now in the South India. So the nearest data center for me will be South India, which means if I choose the South India as my location, my web app service is going to be get created in a location called South India, which means the data center which is in South India. And you can assume it. So the data center is going to be near to me, and it will be little easy for me to access, so that there will be no latency. So this is how you have to decide like which data center is going to be useful for you. So it doesn't mean that like since I'm in South India and if I choose some data center somewhere in Southeast Asia, I will not be able to access it. No, the thing is the data center which is near to you, it will be providing uh, give me a second, remind me later. So coming to this, the data center which is nearby you, it will decide like which one you can choose. So it doesn't matter whether where it is or where you are from. The thing is the latency. So the data center that is nearby you, it will be responding very fast for you, I mean fast to you, whereas the data center that is far away from you, it might request little bit slower. And it doesn't mean that the latency will be in seconds, maybe they will be in milliseconds. So that is what your location is. You can choose any location you want based on the requirement that is given by the client, or based on the need that you have. So it depends with the scenario which you work in. And next to that, there is something called pricing tier. This is what which is going to decide the resources, the services that are available in your app, and along with that the features that is going to be provided for you. So let me make it a full screen, and let us come right from the scratch. So you can see something called F1 shared in here, which is nothing but a free service. So the cost of this service is going to be 0 rupees per month, which means you can host your website at a free of cost. And in here you will be getting 1 GB of storage space, which means your website can be up to 1 GB of size. And the infrastructure is going to be shared, which means your web app service is going to be created in maybe in any one cloud space that's in your Azure data center, but with some space of 1 GB. And there you are not going to be having any dedicated virtual machine for your web app, which means there will be multiple users who will be hosting their website along with you. That's what your F1 free shared infrastructure is. And next to that, you have something called D1 shared, and you can see the cost of this one is where somewhere around 668 rupees and 79 pies. And you can see an extra feature in this, something like custom domain. So what happens is like when you try to create an app service, you can see here. So this is going to be my DNS, that is CodeSizzler webapp.azureWebsites.net. So what happens is like when I create one using the free trial or this free one, there I will be getting something like CodeSizzler.azureWebsites.net. But I don't want to have something like that. So I want to have like CodeSizzlerWebApp.com. In that scenario, I can add a custom domain. But to add that custom domain, I should be using a pricing tier which is of D1 standard, which means I can add a custom domain for this. That's what your D1 standard is all about. And this is again going to be in a shared infrastructure, which means you will not be able to configure any other maybe like you don't will not be having any specific virtual machine which has been dedicatedly given for you. So that's your D1 standard. Coming back to this basic B1, here this is going to be a dedicated virtual machine for your website, not only for your no, it means like your web app. So you are going to host your website in your web app, so that's fine. So it means like if I say web app or website, it's common. So here you will be having a dedicated virtual machine for your web app. Now you can see in there you have one core, and along with that you will be provided with some 1.75 GB of RAM, and also with 10 GB of storage and a custom domain. So you can see the difference here, it's 1 GB, here it's 10 GB, and it's going to be a dedicated virtual machine for you. And along with that you can see something called SSL, that is your secured socket layer certificates. So you can make your website more secured one either by writing your own certificates or purchasing certificates and importing them in here. And next to that you can see something like up to 3 instances. So which means you will be able to host your virtual machine with 3 different instances, which means like in Azure data centers all the resources will be allocated in racks, and there, whenever you configure a virtual machine or any kind of service, it will be it will be configured somewhere in some rack, and you will be able to make use of it. So same way in here, the virtual machine which is going to be created for your web app service, it is going to be spanned up on three different hardware resources, so that those hardware resources will be also in the form of virtual machines. So what happens is like, there will be three different virtual machines upon which your specifically dedicated VM will be hosted. So that is what your up to three instances mean, and this is what your B1 basic is. And next to this B2 basic, again it's doubling with the resources which is available in B1 basic, and the cost is again double. So again B3 basic, it will be double than B2 basic, and everything is going to be the same with with resources that are up with some higher configuration. And if you go up, we have something called standard, we have something called premium, and again, when compared to this basic and standard, you have something like daily backup, deployment slots, and traffic manager. So these deployment slots are there for working parallelly at your live website and with the website which is under development. So let us discuss about this web apps deployment slots in the later part. So let me go with this traffic manager orders. It's like a service which will be helping you to route the requests from different source to different destinations, and that is a part of this one. And that feature will be provided for you with the standard tier. And again, when you go for a premium one, you will be able to go with the daily backup of 50 times a day, whereas with the standard one, you can do only one backup a day. And along with that, you will be having somewhere around 20 slots. So that is how the difference will be, and again the cost is going to be different. Here the cost is pretty much higher when compared to the standard one. And again, if you go little more up, you have premium one, and there your disks will be different, your CPU things will be different. And I can speak about this isolated one. Here you can see everything is going to be same, but number of instances it's somewhere around 100, and you can even increase it. And you have something like private app access, which means like you can configure an active directory so that only specific person can access it and all those things. So it is coming under Azure Active Directory, which is also being going to be discussed in the later parts, maybe in the forthcoming videos. And there is something like app service environment, single tenant system. So you can go with the app service which is going to be configured only for your specific plan, that too in a single tenant system, in a sense it is going to be configured only for you. So maybe a custom app service. So even I didn't work with an isolated one because it is too much way costly for me to work with, and I have not got any requirement for me to work with this, but still let me try it one day, and I'll even explain it later on. And again, so this is going to be the new one which I don't know, but yeah, I will explain some other day. And yes, VNet, yeah, this feature has been given an extra one. So in this isolated one, you can even run your web app service in virtual networks. So if you are not familiar with this one, okay, that's fine. Later on, I will again go with this virtual network topic as well. But to make it simple, so this VNet, you can even run your isolated web app service upon a specific network which you reserve and create for yourself. So your private network. Now for this hands-on, I want you to go with the standard S1 service, so that in my forthcoming videos you can again continue with the same thing. So let us create the standard S1 and select. So that's all for my app service plan. I'll just click on OK. And next to this you have something like application insights. So this is for having a graphical view about your web app service, like how it responds to the requests, how it actually responds, and how the requests have been accepted, and how they are they became error, and how they have been successfully given a response. And all these things can be seen in an insight with the help of a graphical picture. So I don't want it now, I'm just turning it off. And there is an option called pin to dashboard. If I enable it, the resource which I'm going to create right now, it will be displayed in here. So that's what your pin to dashboard is all about. And finally create. Now what happens is like, there is the credentials which I have been set, and the settings which I have been given, and the configurations that I have made, all these things will be taken and it will be validated, and if everything is fine, then my deployments will start. Now you can see in here my deployment has started, and what happens is like, a web app service will get created for me. So once this web app service has been created, you can see, you can remember, like I have named my app service like CodeSizzler web app, webapps.azurewebsites.net, which means I will be owning a domain named CodeSizzler webapps.azurewebsites.net, and inside that I will be having an empty or a sample website, not an empty one. By default, Azure will provide you a sample website. In that sample website, there will be a sample one, so we will see that. So now this is over. My deployment has been succeeded. This is called your overview page. So here you can see your resource group name is something like new RG, and your status of your web app, it's running, its location is South India, its subscription is Visual Studio Developer Essentials, the following is the ID of that subscription, then the following is the URL. If I click on this URL, you can see it is taking me to the following URL, and here you can see my web app. It's a sample which has been given by Microsoft itself. So this is going to be my web app sample. And coming back to the dashboard, here you can see there is something like username of my FTP and my host name and all those things. So you can see the operating system again, it is going to be Windows Server 2016. And can you remember, I've chosen something like S1 standard, which means I will be having a dedicated virtual machine for me, and that is the reason why I got an operating system here. So now we have created our own web app service, and you can see it's been hosted and it's actually running with the sample website in it. Now this is done. The next step is like hosting the website. So there are multiple ways in which you can host a website. You can use your FTP, you can use your Visual Studio, you can use your continuous deployment, which is nothing but your GitHub or OneDrive or other resources. Even you can use your something like Kudu service. So there are different options for you. You can use your FileZilla also. So now we can go with a technique in which you don't want any third-party tools or any other softwares which has been given even by the Microsoft. So you can make use of this FTP so that you can directly host your website right from your PC, just using your normal machine without any extra softwares. So now for that, there is something like get publish profile in here. If you click on it, see, you can see something getting downloaded. It's your CodeSizzler publisher settings. If you open it, inside that you can see a lot of set of tags. So there from the bottom in the fourth line you can see now something like publisher URL, and in that you can see up to root. So this is going to be the URL for you to access your web app, so that you can host your website inside it. Now what you have to do is, in that specific piece of code, copy the code which is inside, copy the path which is inside this URL, that is your publisher URL. Inside that there will be some path inside the double quote. Copy the following and then open any window in your PC, maybe or this PC or any window, and here at the top you can see a path. This is nothing but your file explorer. In that place just paste that URL. So you're getting it. In that place paste your URL and hit on enter. You will be getting something like this. So you need to enter the username and password. For username, come back to the document. Next to that path which you copied, you have something like FTP passive mode, and next to that is username. So copy that username from there, and after copying it, come back to your portal, come back to that window where you are in, paste it in there. And now you need the password. Again, for password, come back to that same document which you copied. In the place of that user pwd, just copy the password alone which is in your inside your double quotes. Copy the same, come back to your portal, the window, paste it in there, and click on this log on. Now you can see you're logged in into a window which actually consists of something like a hosting start.html. The reason you are getting this one is like when you click on the following URL of your web app, you are actually getting a sample one in here. And the reason you got this sample is because of the following file which has been given by default by Microsoft. So this is making you to see the following web app in here. And let me show you a setting here. Actually you can see if I delete the following thing in here, I will not be getting anything like this. But before that, let me go to a setting and show you something in here. Go back to your web app service which you have created now, and in that if you scroll down you can see something like app settings. If you click on that app settings, you can see a lot of options where you can configure in this. In that, if you scroll down, you will be able to see something like default documents. In those things, you can see something like default.html, default.html, default.aspx, all those things. So right, every website will have a home page. Now, imagine a scenario if you are having a website and it is having index.html or maybe kishore.html. Now, how you are going to define like this is going to be my homepage. This page is going to be my homepage. So there, if you give any name in the following place, maybe kishore.html or whatever the name that you want to give, and save it, what happens is like that name will be considered. And the thing is, this is going to be an order. If suppose you can see there is something called hosting start.html in your root folder, which is nothing but the website which you are actually working with. Now you can come back and see here at the last you have something like hosting start.html, which means I have already given this name in here. I mean, by default it is there, and that is the reason why when I search for the following URL, that is that CodeSizzler webapp.azure webapp websites.net, when I search for the following URL, I am getting the following page. Now let us do small change in here. I mean, let us try hosting our own website first, and then let us try making other changes. For that, let us create one new document. I mean, a new notepad file. Just creating one, and in that notepad file, I'm hosting my website. So I'm giving a small name, my first website. I just named it, and now I'm just saving it saving it in the form of an HTML file, that is save as index.html. So I'm naming it as index.html. It's done. Now I will copy the same file in here. So what I did is like I just created one file in the notepad, and I just wrote something in there, maybe the first website or something, and I saved it as index.html, and I'm just copying it and I'm pasting it in here in the root folder. So you can note it's in the root folder. Now you can see there are two different files in here. That is, one is index.html and another one is your hosting start.html. If I come back to this portal and if I go back to the settings, you can see here your hosting start.html is at the last, whereas your index.html it is in front of that hosting start.html, which means this is actually having the first priority. Sorry, this one, that is index.html, is having the first priority, whereas your hosting start.html is having the second priority. Now if I go back the following URL and if I refresh it, I'm getting like my first website, which means here this is saying that index.html have to be considered first if suppose there are two different files with the available names that are given in here, or if suppose you want some other thing to come first, then you can rename it in here and it will reflect back in here. Now let me try deleting this index.html, and if I go back and if I refresh the following thing in here, I'm getting back the old one. And again, let me go and delete the same hosting start.html now, and if I come back and if I refresh the following page, you can see you don't have permission to view the directory or page, which means there is nothing in here. Again, let me go back to the root again. Let me paste that index.html again. So again, index.html has been posted, and if I refresh, my website is back. This is how you can host your website into the Azure Web App Services using this FTP. So that's all for the day. Let me come back to that presentation. So we discussed this web app service and we discussed our app service plan, and we have also hosted the web app that using an FTP. And in forthcoming videos, let us see how to host using your GitHub, how to host your website using the Visual Studio, using the Kudu console, and all possible ways. And maybe the following series will be continuing with the web apps and the different features that can be worked with the web apps. So that's all for today. let me come back to the ends line. It's Kishore Chowdary again, and I'm a C Sharp Corner MVP working as a developer evangelist in a company called CodeSizzler. So the following is my Twitter ID. You can follow me in there, and you can write your query so that I can easily reply back to you. And this is my mail ID, and that's all. So if suppose you have any doubts, feel free to write your mails or feel free to write out the commands in the below given command box so that I can easily reply back to you. So thank you for the things, and if suppose you need to give any feedback, you can even write your feedbacks to me. That's all for the day. Have a nice time, and thanks for watching the video. Thank you.